Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. In today's session, I would like to talk about harness the large language models and generative AI to elevate your existing products. So before we get started, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Lina. Currently, I'm the product lead at Meta, working on business messaging products. And before Meta, I have been working at different tech companies like Amazon, Yahoo Finance, and different startups. And in the past 10 years, I have been working on AI-powered products like advertisement, um, recommendations, visual search, and text-based search. So this is why I'm talking about the topic today. If you would like to further communicate with me or have Q&A sessions, you can find me on the LinkedIn with a link here. So today, I would like to talk about 4 different aspects. The first is understanding the large language models and GenAI. And then we're going to look into some real-world examples. And after that, let's take a look at the framework for AI integration. And the last but not least, there's some actionable advice for PMs. So what is GenAI and large language models? Generative AI is a subset of artificial intelligence focused on creating new content, like text, images, music. They're doing so by learning the patterns from existing data. And large language models, it's a type of AI model designed to understand, process, and generate human-like text. And right now, it's even evolved to have a multimodal content. And it analyzes massive data sets of text to learn patterns, relationships, and contextual meaning in languages. And the large language model is a model behind the generative AI. Talking about the generative AI, people probably get familiar with it since the end of 2022. But in reality, the technology behind has been in development since the past 10 years, and even longer. So in 2017, after the famous paper, All You Need Is Attention, the transformers replaced the recurring architectures. And then since 2019, GPT-2, GPT-3, and right now GPT-4 have been involved. Currently, the most recent GPT-4 is a multimodal models, and it can not only generate content, but also pictures, videos, and even music. So with this in mind, let's look into some of the real-world examples. The real-world examples we're going to take a look today, focusing on leveraging the large language models and GenAI into existing products. So today we're not going to look at building a GenAI product from scratch. So hopefully these examples can give us some inspirations of how we can leverage that into our real work in our daily life. The first example is customer support chatbot. Probably all of us have the experience of talking to a chatbot with frustrations. With large language models, chatbots can understand what we're talking about more easily, and it can provide us with more personalized answers to our specific questions. It can help reduce the resolution time and increase customer satisfaction. There are some examples, like Sendex Answer Bot for ticket automation, and Intercom's conversational AI enhancing the existing support systems. The next example is the dynamic content personalization and search enhancement. For our existing search and recommendation experience, they're already very personalized. However, large language models can further enhance the level of personalization by understanding the context, the intent, and especially semantic meaning at the next level. It can improve the user engagement and also increase the retention. You might have already seen this from the TikTok's refined video feed or Netflix improved recommendations. And the next case study, it's the content creation automation. In the past, we have to write everything by ourselves. Later, we also had the help from some of the autocomplete or suggested reply. But still, the capabilities are quite limited. Right now, with large language models, we can have the AI to help us generate high-quality reports, articles, and even images and videos. They can greatly enhance the content product capacity and also reduce the operational cost. You probably already have been using some of those, like Grammarly's enhanced text editing or Microsoft Word's AI-assisted writing tools. And the next example is language translation. Translation used to be not accurate, and especially between certain languages. With the large language models, the accuracy of translation has been greatly enhanced. With the enhanced translation, it's easier for us to do the localization of product and to have the global reach, and even the collaborations between the team members. And some other examples include the operational efficiency, like it can help us automate some repeated tasks. It can also help us with decision making. So the manual workload can be reduced, and also we can focus more on the high value activities. Some companies might be using the Salesforce instance for CRM, workflow automation, and maybe Microsoft Power automates upgraded features. And similarly, for engineers, there are code assistants to help them with coding, debugging, deployment, and documentation. So the deployment time can be hugely reduced, and the code quality can be further improved. With all of the previous examples, that brings the new possibility of revenue stream. With these like AI-powered features, we can package them into a premium package with additional charges. There are some products already doing that, like Canvas Pro features, Zoom's AI transcription enhancing enterprise offerings, HubSpot's advanced analytical upgrades. With these real-world examples, how we can make them happen into our own existing products. So there's some framework for AI integration. Let's take a look. So the first thing we need to do is to identify the feasible use cases. And there are use cases for user experience. For user experience, the first thing we need to think about is, are there any existing pain points we can help address? Any frictions, any efficiencies, or any repeated tasks? And within our products, what kind of core features we want to enhance? Is this a search experience, or is it something we want to empower the users to do it more easily? And is there any experience we want to personalize for users? Maybe it's a search or it's a recommendation feed. We want to provide the users with a more personalized experience. Or any blockers we have in the past about global reach. Is it because of the translation quality? And with the enhanced translation, are we able to do better in localization? And together with this, are we also going to consider additional revenue opportunities? And besides the user experience, there are some feasible cases we can have for internal efficiency. There could be automated content and workflow for PM, for customer support, for marketing team, for sales team. And for B2B companies that have a customer support, we can also leverage LLMs to automate the routine support queries and also empower the agents so that it's easier for them to provide a easy, high quality, and customized answers to the customers. And also for our engineers, we can leverage AI tools to help them with debug, to help them with documentation and deployment. After we identify the feasible use cases, the next step is for us to define a success. Success can be reflected from different dimensions. The first is the technical performance. Is the technical solution we could have is of low latency and scalable? And if it relies on any models we have, do we see the model improvement continuously? And for the user experience, can we provide an accurate and a relevant experience to the users, which can be further reflected in engagement and retention? And for our business overall, do we see any revenue growth or cost savings or any other efficiency gains? And another important mindset as a PM we need to have while incorporating the large language models and GenAI into existing products is to really start small and then scale effectively. instead of building something big from the start. So the first thing we have is we just focus on one high impact feature, and we define clear success metrics to validate the effectiveness. And there's different ways for us to test, experiment, and get the feedback, both qualitatively and quantitatively. And then with all of this information, we will monitor and update. There's models outputs we can further monitor, and a model, if needed, we can retrain the model. And there's some other adjustments, not only model, but also the front-end user experience we could have to enhance the user experience overall. So with all of this, we can know whether the high impact feature we launched is successful or not. And if it's successful, we can further extend the AI functionalities to other parts of the products. So those are the strategy parts as a PM we need to think about. And next, let's look into some of the execution aspects. So the first is data preparation. Data is fundamental for AI, not only large language models or GenAI, but any AI products. There's 4 steps: clean the data, label and annotate, balance and sample, and pre-process the data. In large language models and GenAI, there could be more challenging with label and annotate. The reason is because in large language models and GenAI products, there could be lots of data in the form of free text. And free text, it's less structured. So it's like it takes some more efforts to label and annotate. However, right now, we can also leverage the large language model to do this process more effectively with high quality. During the data preparation, it's very important to ensure we have sufficient data to train the model or fine-tune the model if you're now training the model from scratch. So there's some best practices for data collection. The existing data, we can figure out how we can leverage more. There's some data you might not be tracking in the past. So you could figure out whether you can start to track and log those data. For example, there could be some qualitative data from support tickets, customer reviews, product logs, besides the user interactions within your app. And you can also augment with external sources. There are many public data sets out there to fill the gap. And also depending on the domain of a product, you might look at specific domain data sets. Whether you're gathering data from internal or with external sources, it's very important to stick to the ethical standards. There's some compliance and regulations and also privacy laws we have to understand and also follow, like GDPR, CCPA. And as PM, it's very important for us to advocate for transparency, fairness, and accountability in AI systems. And the ethical issue is getting increasingly important in generative AI. So it's worth keep emphasizing the ethical standards while we're using the data. And another thing important is the data quality, the foundation of the success. The first is the accuracy and relevance. We have to ensure the data we collect, they're truly accurate and relevant. And we can leverage the human annotators to help us understand the quality of the data. And also, depending on the product, there could be some domain-specific data we need to collect. So is the data we have right now very generic, or it's domain-specific enough? And also the data we have should really help us improve user centrics. We should leverage data like user feedback, logs, interactions to really help us understand our user better. So after the data preparation, another important task as a team we need to accomplish is the model selection and customization. There are different ways to approach this. There are already third-party open source models out there or third-party API-based services. And we can also build a model from scratch in-house or adopt a hybrid approach. And there are pros and cons of each option. Like, for example, in-house model development can offer high cost And especially for large language models, the cost is especially high for computation. But at the same time, it's more flexible and it's fully scalable. And at the same, also the customization, we can have the full control. Versus if you're choosing a third-party open source model or API-based service, it can give us a very fast rollout and also very low initial cost. However, in talking about customization or scalability, there could be limitation. So really depending on the product and business needs, the different options can be your best choice. Like for example, for startups or small scale products with constrained budgets, you can choose a third-party open source model. Or if your business is seeking quick deployment and meaningful infrastructure management, third-party API-based services might be a better option. And if you're enterprises with proprietary needs and you're pretty determined in this like a long-term AI investment, building an in-house model might be a good choice. Or if your businesses, you want to balance the rapid deployment and some domain-specific customization, you can consider the hybrid approach. And besides the model selection and customization, there are other technical considerations. As PM, we need to understand. There's scalability, there's also real-time interaction, privacy and security concern, we just talked about, and the deployment approaches. So all of those are different aspects we need to take into account when we are making the technical decisions. So it's important for PM to have this in their mind while they're working with the engineering team. Throughout this process, there are common challenges, and here are some mitigations. Like the first one, high computational cost. And we can leverage some optimized APIs or smaller domain-specific models to reduce resources demands. This is related to the model selection we just talked about. So depending on your business situation and needs, you can choose the different approach. And the second is data privacy concern. So that has been mentioned repeatedly because it's a very important topic. So we can implement robust encryption and anonymization techniques to protect sensitive information. And there's also could be ethical standards we should stick to. And another challenge in AI, and particularly challenging for GenAI, is AI biases. And this requires us to regularly test and retrain models with diverse data sets to minimize unfair outcomes. And this is also something as a PM we need to really bear in mind while we're developing AI products. What are some of the actionable advice for PMs? As a PMs, where can we start? So the first is really building the AI competence from ourselves and also for our teams. The first is to build AI literacy. We can develop some foundational knowledge of large language models and GenAI. And we can also stay updated on AI advancements so that we can identify opportunities and the challenges to see what we can do to our products. And the second is really to start using the GenAI products. Learning on paper is never the same as getting our hands dirty. So explore some GenAI tools to not only help us understand their practical applications, but also enhance our workflows. We can use ChatGPT or Jasper for ideation, and we can also use Grammarly to improve our writing, and also Notion AI for task management. And besides equipping ourselves, it's equally important to equip our team. It's really worth investing in resources like APIs and also workshops on topics like fine-tuning models or ethical AI use cases. And there's also companies leveraging hackathons to promote the learnings and practical experience. And we should also encourage our engineers and designers to explore AI learning materials for continuous improvement. Another important thing as a PM we can do is to reach organizational alignment. The very first is the alignment on the goals. There could be different things we can do with large language models and GenAI. So it's important for us to really understand our product's value proposition and identify the real use cases we can have and have a clear success metrics and KPIs, and then foster a culture of the experimentation and the iteration so that we can keep iterate and learn. And equally important is establish guardrails. Success metrics is very critical. And at the same time, we also need to know what kind of guidelines we can stick to ensure the ethical AI practice. And also, we should work with the engineering team to regularly audit the models to identify and mitigate bias to really build trust and maintain integrity. And last but not least, we have to figure out how to foster cross-functional collaboration, because incorporating large language models or GenAI to our existing products won't be successful just with a PM or engineering team. It needs a collective efforts from data scientists, from designers, from user researcher, from marketing team, from sales team, from customer support. So it's important for PM to really bring everyone together to build a consensus and to make decision and action together. Okay, so this comes to the end of today's session, and let me share some closing thoughts. So first of all, large language models and GenAI are really transforming how we interact with technology. Even if we're not working on the GenAI native products, it doesn't prevent us from understanding this technology and thinking about how we can leverage it into our existing products and our daily job. There are some real-world applications we can take a look and also get inspiration from to see, are there any use cases we can also adopt into our existing products? And there's some standard approach that we can have to integrate the AI into our existing products. And as a PM, we should take really proactive steps to really prepare for the future of AI for ourselves, for our teams, and also for our products. Okay, so that's the end of today's session. And thank you everyone for joining me today, and see you next time.